Roadman Saf, aka Saf Malik.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Luke Phelps.
What's going on, everybody? This is Patrick.
What's up? It's me, Alfie.
Hey, I'm Ezra Jordan, and you're listening to The Cool Table.
Patrick, you're now listening to The Cool Table.
You are listening to The Cool Table.
And I'm not sure if you know this, but right now, you're in the cut with my man, Adriel Smiley.
All right, welcome to The Cool Table. This is CJRU, 12:80 a.m. in Toronto. Now we're here in the cut with the guy Cadence Weapon, a.k.a. Rolly, here for North by Northeast.
What's up?
Now tell us about this ice cream. Cherry Garcia flavor I've never, ever heard of.
Yeah, this is a deep flavor. This is it's a reference to Jerry Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like my ice cream with some fruit in it.
Okay.
You
But
know,
not fruity, but fruit in it.
But sometimes I'll like sorbet
Okay.
or gelato.
Yeah.
That's kind of my wheelhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been in this flavor since the beginning, since it came out?
Yeah, no, I've always been very interested in this flavor when it dropped.
Wow.
You know, I was really excited. It used to be hard to get Ben & Jerry's in Canada.
Really?
Like maybe 10 years ago, it was different.
Wow.
Like it was more obscure.
Now, like when I just went and got it, there was more Ben & Jerry's than anything else. Like Ben & Jerry's was like the main thing I could get. So
Yeah, they made it.
It's changed. Now, when your first album came out in 2005, I was 11 years old. So for young fans like myself, give them like a crash course on Cadence Weapon.
Okay, well, I'm from Edmonton originally.
Mm-hmm.
I put out 4 albums now, and that first album in 2005, I guess leading up to that point, I was more well known in Edmonton just as kind of a battle rapper. I just rap on the radio. I was just kind of like developing a buzz just locally. I would open every show, every rapper who came. Like I opened for Questlove.
Okay.
I toured with Jurassic 5.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like anytime rappers were coming through, I would usually be playing.
You were like the main Edmonton guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you lived in Montreal. I live in Toronto now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what's the difference between those 3 cities for you? Like, it's one thing that comes to mind like right away.
Well, just the landscape of each place is very different. Whereas Edmonton is extremely spread out. It's a very large city. People would be surprised, like especially over here, people don't really know anything about like west of Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Might as well not exist.
Facts.
But yeah, Edmonton's super spread out. It's got a really great rap community, a really good DIY music scene just in general.
Okay.
People don't really know about it. Whereas in Montreal is like the mecca of creativity.
Montreal's a lot going on, yeah.
It's incredible. I lived there for 6 years, and during that time, that was also the time when I didn't put out a lot of music, but I was having the most fun of my entire life at that time.
But maybe that's why. Maybe those two things are correlated.
There is a correlation between that, yeah. But I feel like who I was before I lived there and who I am after, it's very influenced by all the artists that I came into contact with. Like I became really good friends with Grimes and Mac DeMarco and all these artists you wouldn't expect maybe me to be rolling with, but that was just our scene there,
You chose to name the album Cadence Weapon. Now, hearing the album, I know you said you thought about going with Rolly, but hearing the album, I kind of wish you went with Rolly because the album sounds like a Rolly album to me. What was the choice for you not to go that way?
Okay, so I feel like briefly I was having kind of like an identity crisis.
Okay.
And I just wanted to switch my artist name just to Rolly. And I was feeling like there was like too much baggage with the Cadence Weapon name, and especially with my old label, which they like went out of business.
Okay.
And there was this whole like stressful connection to that, so I just didn't. I wanted to move on from it, right? But then I'm really happy that I didn't because I kind of realized that Cadence Weapon name, like, it actually carries a lot of weight.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that name carries weight, so it would have been almost being like completely brand new if you had changed it.
I would have been starting over. And I've seen it happen with other artists where they like, oh, I want to do a new project. Oh, now I'm gonna do another new project, and they're just constantly reinventing themselves and making different kinds of music, and no one can catch up.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't do that in the end. And that's why I doubled down and called the album Cadence Weapon.
And again, super rare. You probably heard this a million times, but rare for someone to do that like so deep into the game.
Yeah.
But again,
it's kind of dope though.
No, but that's not the thing. 'Cause again, the name rings bells. So doubling down is like even more. It's like, listen, you know who I am. You know who I am.
Like, this is me.
Exactly what that is. Now, you said you're in your own world, and the trends of today don't affect you. Just talk about that because again, it's been 6 years since you released music. So so many things have changed. We've seen artists go from being the biggest to we don't know who they are anymore. Just like talk about it not affecting you, and then like the changes you've seen, I guess, not being in the game.
I've always considered myself to be an outsider.
Okay.
You know, like, and I'm just a total outlier. I'm myself. I've always been in my own musical world. Nobody really sounded like me. Even just when I was first starting in Edmonton, there were no other rappers that sounded like me. Nobody was rapping over electronic music at that time. I was like one of the first people, like I think in the world, really rapping over techno and stuff. Like nobody was doing that. I was doing that in 2008, 2007.
No one was doing that. Yeah.
You know, I was doing tracks with A-Track back then, and it's like now it's like very common. You hear that, right? But I just feel like my whole thing is just creativity, right? And I always try and do something different, and it just comes very naturally to me. So every project I come out with, I don't feel any pressure like, oh, well, like now there's trap music. Like there wasn't really trap music in 2012. And it's like trying to navigate that. It wasn't that hard because I was just thinking like, well, let me like make some music that is still relevant to today's listener, but, you know, put my own spin on it.
And speaking of trap music, talked about Future, and you said like the big effect that he's had on the game, kind of the stat. Now, I agree with you completely. I think everyone's doing a Future imitation.
A lot of people don't agree with me.
Really, but I think Future's doing a Lil Wayne imitation, but everyone's doing a Future imitation. Let's talk about that and how you've seen like his influences spread all over the rap game.
I don't think he gets enough credit. Still,
Facts.
right? Because you look at King's Dead, for instance, right? What is there a more memorable moment in rap all year than a la-di-da-di-da like that?
No.
That's it's something that people wouldn't do. Your average rapper would not do something like that
At all.
and would not understand what the utility of doing something like that is. And at first blush, people were like, "This is whack. This was totally bad." It's like, how dare he do this on a Kendrick Lamar track?
But I was at the championship tour Tuesday.
Yeah.
That was the biggest moment of the night, and because they did King's Dead twice.
Yeah.
And they just stopped the track. The whole crowd sang it both times. Like,
love it.
Yeah.
Love it. You know, and that's like Future in a nutshell for me. He always thinks of moments like that, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is the time where he's not as relevant as he was like a couple years ago, but it's like he's shifting gears to doing something a little bit different, and he always changes.
Yeah.
Right? Like I felt like his whole thing for a while was just coming up with new flows. Every song was a new flow, and I feel like people are just using those flows now all like they're theirs.
He shows everyone flows to use.
Yeah, no, he's like, it's follow the leader with him. You know, I love Future.